welcome back to Epilepsy Moms. My name is Summer, and my son has generalized epilepsy with tonic-clonic and absence seizures.
Hi, my name is Liz, and my daughter has focal epilepsy in her temporal lobe.
Hi, my name is Bree, and I am an early childhood education teacher.
What ages does conscious discipline work best with?
Okay, so I saw that question, and I don't know, like, specific ages.
Hold on.
Oh, it's a baby!
Hi. So I don't know how old it can go up to, like what age is like the highest, but I know that at the early learning center that I work in, we introduce it as early as 1 year old. Like we right off the bat, it's like Sophie and Schubert are the little like puppet characters that are used in conscious discipline in Becky Bailey's books. And there's a lot of books like there's like Schubert's New Friend, and that's like about a new friend in class and how to treat them. And in the book, like the friend didn't look like the children, like what they expected them to look like. And so they all made fun of him. And then they realized what they did made their friends sad. And it's really just like show it, like encapsulating the entire situation as if it happened in your classroom, but more fun for children to like understand and digest because they're only 4 and 5, or the younger kids too. But like we do it as early as 1 year old. And really not necessarily like the full shebang of conscious discipline, but it's introduced with like the puppets, the books, and like the verbiage of first we do this, then we do this. And like not all children are going to understand or like know that we're doing conscious discipline, obviously, because it's not like we're like, hey, let's do conscious discipline today. It's just kind of what we're doing in the classroom every day, or should be anyways. And I think that it would be totally like fine, obviously not the puppets and stuff for middle school and high school, but if you think about it, those kids still need to learn to regulate their emotions, problem solve, and be able to feel safe and say no. And that's another thing that's like a big thing too, is like you have the power to choose and make your own choices. You have the power to choose how your day goes. You have the power to choose who makes you upset or how you get upset or what makes you upset, and things like that. And just like I feel like middle school and high school could really benefit from it in a different way. Obviously, like I'm not going to be there with a puppet and saying Schubert's New Friend when you're meeting new friends in high school, whatever, but it's still applicable to them because they're going to have different situations that upset them and maybe not know how to handle it. I know that my parents did not teach me social and emotional skills well because a lot of the times I was called like a crybaby by my family too. And it's not necessarily that I was crying because I was sad. It was I didn't know how I was feeling or how to name my emotion. Sure. And so I was overwhelmed with the amount of emotions and why I was feeling this way and why whoever was calling me a crybaby. And it's because I couldn't vocalize or really. And honestly, maybe I was feeling ashamed too. Like I'm crying. This made me upset, but I'm not confident enough to verbalize or name how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling that way, and how I can be fixed. So I don't really feel like there's an age limit, more like maybe a maturity level, and whether you feel like that fits the needs of this child or not. And even like piece by piece, like you don't have to use all of the conscious discipline tools, but you know, I even use it in the classroom. Like if I can feel that I'm getting overwhelmed or I'm upset, and I show it to the kids too. I'm like, Miss Bree needs to take a step away and I'm going to do some balloon breathing. And that's also because I want to model it to them. Like I want them to see, and like sometimes, yes, I do pretend that something upset me when it didn't really, but because I want them to see how I am handling it. And like I'm walking away from the situation, I'm going to do some balloon breathing and I'm going to take some time to myself, and then I'll come back and talk about it. Because that's what I want them to do, or go like kind of go to the safe place, do what they need to do, and then go back to the situation to try and problem solve then. Because when you're all worked up and in your emotions, you're not really able to problem solve. You know, you need to focus on you and the self-regulation first, and then the problem solving skill. So I feel like there's not really an age limit, more like maturity level is what I would say. I don't know if that's actually true, but
I think it's interesting you bring that up because it's something kind of as adults, I think we naturally do that. We have a stressful day at work, we come home and like maybe you watch your favorite TV show, maybe you read a book, maybe you know, maybe you have some bad habits, you eat some dessert, like you eat that bucket of ice cream. We have those things we do, but I mean, at least in my generation, we didn't have someone teaching us those tools. And so why not teach our kids like a healthier way to do that?
Exactly.
If you had a
Yeah.
hard day, like here's something positive we can do to de-stress. Like we can work on artwork. We can
Yes.
do something with our hands that isn't for little kids, but is, like we can develop that into
Yeah. And something for like older kids that I think are really cool and fun to play with. I don't know about like middle school, high school ages, but I thought they were cool when I was like younger too. And they're fidgety, and I don't know if you guys remember it, but they're wiki sticks. And I just ordered some for my classroom because they're just wax coated strings and they're colorful. And so you can build, and like, it's like, imagine a pipe cleaner covered in wax. That's pretty much what it is. So you can bend it, you can make letters, you can make like creations, and it's just really fun and gets their hands moving, and it's not messy at all. So that's something that
girls love beads, right? Make some bracelets, make some necklaces, like do some clay. Yeah. A lot of things. If you like writing, like write a story. One of my sons likes to write. So like get out your journal, like write down your thoughts, and maybe I know it sounds like a really good way to help them learn how to self-regulate in a really positive way.
Yeah. Because, and also I feel like you were saying, we, like without being taught, we have these habits that when we come home from work, we do whatever we do, like drinking wine or eating a bucket of ice cream. And like, those aren't necessarily healthy habits. And I feel like I am trying my best as an adult to like not do things like that and do things that are actually helping my mental health. And like something where I feel like I got a break, where in the morning I'm going to have consequences from the ice cream or the wine. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to feel like poop after I ate that much ice cream, and I might have a headache if I drink too much wine. So it's like those consequences where I'm like, I would rather like go on a walk, or like you were saying, teaching your children to journal or draw or feed and things like giving them purposeful and like engaging, but also like positive outlets and hobbies, because that's another thing that I realized I don't have as an adult is like a hobby. I'm like, all I do is teach. I feel like that's my life. And then I go home and I'm like doing more research to help my classroom and like conscious discipline. And I love it. But I'm like, I need to get to the point where I'm separating work and my life, because I am not a teacher. I am Bree. You know, like I am a teacher, but that's not my identity. You know?
How can we start using and implementing conscious discipline into our lives?
So like providing them with choices, like you're saying, and like it's hard to do. So you need to, as the parent, know what choices you would be okay with them choosing. You know what I mean? Like if you're asking them to do, like we were talking about chores earlier, I know that's not what you want the example to be, but if there are a list of chores and then like allowing them to choose what chores happen first, or if they need to do chores and homework before they start playing video games, or whatever they need to be doing before playing video games, telling that obviously like they know this, but you can do chores first or you can do homework first. Either way, you're completing both before you do video games, but I will let you choose which one you do first. And I feel like other things that you could implement are like the breathing, like you've already implemented this safe place and things like that, of like maybe just you as the parent, like remembering like, hey, I've implemented these things. Now my child is upset. What could you go use right now? What's something that could help your body? And then she's like, hey, I have that special spot in my room. And like both of you like making the connection, but not telling her, go to your safe place, you need to calm down.
Sure.
Because then that's like a timeout. And that's not necessarily, the safe place is supposed to be somewhere they feel safe, like to calm their emotions, regulate their bodies, things like that. But there are this is like for younger kids, but like a picture schedule of showing like, hey, even if it's like the days of the week, on these days we go to school, these days are home days, and then you have a picture of the school or the child wearing a backpack or something so that they know what's coming for each day. Those are very like minor things that might not feel like they make a difference, but I feel like those, and like the verbiage too, like adding little by little is going to be the easiest for the parent and the child, because it's a lot to take on. And like even me, like I do not have all conscious discipline implemented in my classroom all day, every day. Like it is very hard. And I am not the only one trained on it, but I am kind of like the one who has implemented it the most and kind of like hit the ground running when I heard of conscious discipline, and I wanted to use it because I know that it works. I know that I've used these strategies and implemented these things in my classroom, that I've worked with children that have insane behaviors, like throwing all of the toys in the classroom at me. And I'm like cool, calm, and collected, trying to be conscious discipline while I'm getting like toys thrown in my face. And while that's very hard, it works because I'm not screaming back at them. And then they're like, whoa, like mixing fire with fire, that only builds a bigger fire, you know? Like while I'm sitting here and like this child might be throwing toys at me and I'm like, I see that you are very upset. I can tell that you're upset because you're throwing the toys. What is your anger trying to tell you? We can go to the safe place and we can talk about it. And like, I just like keep my calm voice and I'm talking to them. And sometimes they calm down, sometimes they don't. But if you like, for kids, that's really like their fight or flight. Are you going to make them fight harder? Are they going to run? Are like, what's going to happen? And like, that's another thing that's really hard about this is like kids are unpredictable. And like, luckily with parents, you might be able to predict your children a lot easier in different circumstances. But having like 18 of them in my class, like I sometimes like the day in general is unpredictable. But I feel like
every day is unpredictable.
Stepping stones and like piece by piece, and really like, I think the verbiage and like, not that you don't have a connection with your child, but really like, instead of like being that parent, like I'm in charge, I'm the boss, like building that connection of like, obviously you love your kids. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that, but like, I love you rituals too, of like when there was like hard drop-offs, or like when you're dropping off at school, if someone has a hard drop-off, there's I love you rituals that you could do that Becky Bailey has made. And I think you can Google them, or she has a lot of resources on her website and stuff like that. But there's one that I would do with a child, and she had really hard drop-offs, and every single morning I would get down on my knees and we would clap and like together, I love you, I love you, I love you. And then she'd give me a big hug, and she'd give her mom a big hug, and then she'd come into the classroom. And if we did that every day, and that helped her drop-offs a lot more, because she was like, I feel like in her eyes, welcomed with warm arms in the classroom. She felt safe in our classroom. I was immediately giving her a hug, and she was giving her mom a hug, and then she was off. And it was a routine and something that we did daily.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And so
there's lots of really hard drop-offs where I'm just like, and not even just with my youngest, but with my oldest. Yeah. And there's been a couple with my daughter, and my oldest and I just kind of like Summer and her oldest. I butt so bad with him. And a lot of it's because we're a lot alike.
I was going to say, you might be a little bit similar.
We're very similar. But he's a very emotional person, which I was as a kid also. I was extremely emotional. Everything hurt my feelings. But I don't know how to, now that I'm harder as a person, I don't know how to navigate that into a child. So it's like, I try really hard to stay calm, but then he knows how to push those buttons. So then I elevate. And then he elevates. And then I elevate even harder because I'm a little bit more strong-willed than he is, because I'm just the adult version of him. There's a lot of things I'm learning that I need to start implementing.
Yes. So I think that another thing with conscious discipline is like your composure. And when you take breaks, like don't wait until you've already lost your composure to like go walk away and take a breath, because then he feels like he's already won. You know what I mean? Like he sees you elevating, so he gets higher. He's trying to get you to your boiling point until your explosion. Yeah. And then either get what he wants or see you flustered and mad. And to a kid, that's freaking hilarious when you piss off your mom. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, that's so funny. Like, even at school, oh, Miss Bree's mad. And I'm like, do you see my face? I'm smiling. I'm so
You're happy. Like, I'm going to fake it till I make it.
And I'm like, I'm not mad. But I always say, like, and like when you were saying that he's very emotional, like, validating his feelings, it's okay to feel this way, but it's not okay to do this. This is what you can do instead. And so, like I was saying, that example of like the child throwing toys across the classroom because they're angry. And when I say toys, it is buckets and buckets and buckets of toys. But they're like, and I tell them, like, it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to throw the toys in our classroom. And I always relate things back to safety. What you are doing right now is making our classroom unsafe. My job as a teacher is to keep you safe. Your job is to help me keep it safe. when you're throwing toys across the classroom, is that helping me keep it safe? And the obvious answer is no.
Right.
Okay, so what can we do that is safe, but you can still be throwing? And another thing that I've implemented in my classroom because of the throwing of toys is I have bean bags, and there's like a circle bucket that they go in, but they can take them into our circle time area because it's not used unless we're doing circle time. And they can throw the bean bags underhand. They know it's underhand. And if it's not, then the consequence is the bucket gets put away because you chose not to use it appropriately. But they throw the bean bags underhand into the bucket. And that's like the replacement behavior for throwing toys across the classroom is now throwing bean bags into a bucket. Still doing the same motion, still what the child wanted to be doing in an appropriate way.
Okay. Sure.
And I think I've heard you say that a few times and give several examples of that where you're giving a replacement behavior. Like you're seeing this behavior, that's what the child wants to do. It's not okay. So here's what you can do instead. That is okay. And I think like for older kids, I'm thinking like video games and like YouTube, you know, that's what all the teens want to do. That's what my son wants to be on all the time. Yeah. So giving that, okay, if you want to do that, that's okay. But here's the websites that you can go to play those games, or
okay,
you can watch on YouTube that are acceptable. You know, so you're giving it to them, but with those limits and
with limitations.
So yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and the consequence could be like, okay, now you chose to go on this website when you were told that website wasn't allowed. You have now lost your privileges of using this much time. Or if you were to take all of it away, I don't know how.
Right.
I don't have children. But
that was actually that my oldest did was he ended up, I hear I'm sorry. And I always say, I forgive you, but it's not okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I
tell my kids too, do not respond to I'm sorry's with it's okay, because it's not okay for someone to treat you that way.
Okay.
Because I want them to know too in their brains that's not okay for someone to come up right behind me, walking past my center and hit me across the head for no reason.
Right.
That's not okay. And I don't want them to think that's okay because then everybody in my class would be doing that. You
sure.
know? So I do teach that too. It's like that I forgive you instead of saying it's okay. And I do say that too, like I forgive you, but what you did, and I tell them, when you hit your friend across the face, that is not okay. I do not like when you make my friends feel unsafe and things like that. And then I go back to my job in the classroom is to keep us safe. Your job is to help me keep it safe. When you're walking past your friends and smacking them across the head, is that helping me keep it safe? No. What could you do instead? I could tell them that I want to play with them, because usually that's what it is. They want to play with them or they want that toy. And I'm like, so let's use our words, because smacking them is not going to get you what you want.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I say a lot too, is like when a child is screaming or they're doing whatever behavior and they think that it's going to get them what they want, I always make I know that you're angry. It's okay to feel this way. This is not going to get you what you want. How can you get what you want with your words? What words can you use to get what you want? How could you ask for this or whatever? And like a lot of the times you need to feed them the words, because they're so used to like how your kids, I'm sorry, what you're saying. Like in my class, I feed them the words of I'm sorry for what they did and what they will do next time, how they can make the other person feel better.
Okay.
So I say like, I'm sorry that I stayed up past my bedtime and snuck on the Oculus, and then I forgive you, whatever. And then next time I will ask permission or do it before bedtime. What can I do to make it better?
Okay.
And then that's when you can be like, you can next time or do it after your homework or whatever in this time frame. But this time that you chose to do it is not appropriate. Now the consequence is you don't get to play it tomorrow or whatever your consequence is doing.
Good. I think maybe we'll make this into like a 2 or 3 parter, because it's a lot of information, but it's also interesting. So I kind of want to get into more specific situations and like how we can daily use conscious discipline, which I know we've talked about a few situations, but talking specifically about epilepsy or any situation where a child is taking medications, I know that can be really, really difficult. It can be really hard with young kids and older kids. I've heard stories of older kids with epilepsy who are like, that's it, I'm done. I'm not taking these anymore. Like, I just want to quit. So what are some ways we can use conscious discipline to help encourage them to take those medications?